now. Streaming now. Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors: Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog Response. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinUpsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stewandthenunn.com. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, minus our Nunn tonight. So no Nunn tonight. But I do have joining me the much prettier, funnier, has more hair. I wasn't going to say hairier. That wouldn't sound right. Miss Sarah Lee. Hey, Sarah. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Oh, wow. So I said, Sarah Lee, how are you doing? And my Siri just came on and said, I feel good. How are you?
That's awesome.
I think that's the first time that has ever happened.
It's cramping my style here.
Yes, Siri's trying to take your spot. Let me just making sure I get the audio set up here for our speaker. So let me make sure I just got that set up. And yeah, we're good to go now. All right, and everyone, again, welcome. Sarah's with me tonight, and this would happen. Sarah we're kind of bush league. You've been on here a time or two. When I'm running like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 screens, and 5 media outlets. So it gets kind of crazy. But it is October 3rd. Toby's not here tonight. He is celebrating the anniversary of his wedding bliss, and I don't know why. I would think his wife would be fine with him taking an hour and a half out to do a radio show, but I guess I can't blame her, right? It is. He's not here with us tonight. So Sarah was just on last week as a guest.
Yes, yeah, I have some big shoes to fill tonight. Pressure's on.
Toby actually has really small feet, so.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, they're kind of dainty for a man. Don't tell him I said that. So.
No, I'm sure he won't see this either. So
no, he won't see this. No, they're really kind of unreasonably small. It's kind of suspicious. But anyways,
I'm like 10 in women, so.
There we go. Well, yeah, you've got to have a foot to push that pedal to bike across country. So, you have to be able to do that. All right. Well, we're gonna I'm looking at our chat room. It appears that our sound is good, so we're good on audio. That's good. Thank you everyone for joining. Mom, Dad, John, everyone is getting in there, and you're with me tonight. So, wow, what a crazy week, huh, Sarah?
Yes, yeah, pretty breaking.
Yeah, it's
Very nerving week.
I put up a posting today on the site, on the blog and stuff, saying we're getting ready and you're going to be the guest host tonight, and kind of what it was going to be about. And I put there, we had started chatting, well, last week, I think, either right after the show or on Wednesday. That because we knew, at that point we kind of talked with you and said, hey, can you fill in? We knew Toby wouldn't be here, and we started talking guests and what we're going to talk about. I think one of the things I said to you, correct me if I'm wrong, was like, let's just kind of see what happens over the next week, and it'll probably determine what we talk about. Little did
Right,
I
right.
know, little did I know, or could I predict what was in gonna happen over the next sometime in the next 6 days for sure. Um,
I was in the Smoky Mountains, so I was a little late hearing about it. Your text actually kind of filled me in with what was going on. I had no signal for like 3 days over the weekend.
yeah, that's right. We chatted on Monday, and I think I'd reached out to you and said, hey, this is kind of where we got a topic and stuff. And I was like, I think I said like we're gonna talk Vegas, and you're like,
Sadly, yeah, you said
you're
sad.
like, what's okay? What's about Vegas? And I was like, oh, you need to get out from underneath that rock. Uh,
Literally, I was in under rocks.
Yeah, so it is unfortunately we are going to have to be talking about that tonight. I know some people are, maybe overloaded with the news the last 2 days, right? It hasn't even really been 2 days coming up on. But it's just the topic to talk about, and I think if anyone's been watching the news, you've seen every talking head out there from both sides. You've seen every politician from both sides, and you've seen some of the victims and stuff, which has been good. I'm glad we see some of that. And of course, it's been nonstop coverage over the shooter himself. Um, as everyone it's really a why, right? There's no religious, there's no this. I mean, um, I think that's what's throwing everyone, to the loop, and I related it to 9/11. I was talking to Toby on Monday. We were talking quite a bit on Monday yesterday, and I was like, I was stuck to the TV all day. I mean, I have one here in my office, but it was like, it was nonstop. I was supposed to go to the gym first thing Monday morning. I usually go after I put my son on the bus, and the next thing I looked down, it was been 45 minutes. Like I was just, it was within 6 hours of happening. There were so many reports coming out, and even after the last almost 48 hours, um, there's still, it's more why than anything. There's the motive is what is seems to be lacking. The patterns, the profile of this person, his demographics, none of it fits what we've unfortunately become used to in a mass shooting. Would you agree?
That's totally true. There's so much room for a question yet, and like you said, the why. And people try to make sense of stuff like this, or just say, sometimes it doesn't make sense, or kind of they just try to reach a resolve that gives them peace of mind. But there's still there's so much gray area to, I think, to really investigate into yet. So I think people are formulating a lot of their own kind of thoughts about it, and of course, the internet provides an outlet for all of these thoughts to come together and kind of blow up or take different routes and everything. But I still think there's still information that we'll be finding out about this guy. Maybe his brother didn't know him. You
Obviously,
never know.
his brother said he only owned 4 or 5 guns and a rifle. I think they're up to 48 or 49 now. Yeah, but he hadn't brother and talked to him in a while. And that's one thing that fits. That's kind of throwing everyone off too. It's constant. They're talking about. He wasn't former military. Wasn't foreign law enforcement. He wasn't known as a shooter. He wasn't a 3-gun shoot competition guy. He wasn't like that. Wasn't his thing. He wasn't into guns. He wasn't a marching Second Amendment guy or nothing like that. It was like, wow, this guy went out and bought 48, 49, not just any cheap run of the mill insert crappy gun manufacturer here gun, all high end. All of his guns were 1,500 to 3 grand each. They're saying now just the guns he had in the room was valued over $100,000. I mean,
Wow.
you can
And he
buy.
was a wealthy man, also.
He was wealthy.
Accountant.
Yeah,
He could have. I mean, he could have bought anything. He could have done anything to make him happy. I really don't understand. Yeah, like you said, there's just so many whys left, or the big why.
right. Yeah. So we're definitely going to be talking about that even more. I know we already started getting into it. There's a lot of things to cover tonight. One thing I do want to cover is our sponsor. You can see it right there up between, actually this way, right between Sarah and I. Enlisted Nine Fight Company. I do the American flag first, and I go right there. So we are glad to have. You have your Enlisted Nine shirt on, Sarah?
Yes, I
Look at
love it.
look
I
at
love
that.
Fits perfectly. Material's soft. It's printed really well. High quality. It's awesome.
Which one do you have? Which one did you
Uh,
get?
it's the heart made up of
Of
different weaponry.
nice,
So
perfect.
assorted.
Guns are in your heart. Yeah. So there we go. So we are both sporting our enlisted nine tonight, and glad to have them on as a sponsor. So I got to give them a big shout out. We announced a few sponsors and folks that we kind of put in honorary sponsor. They're good friends of ours that have companies. We put their companies up there. But Enlisted Nine is our new premium sponsor. So we're glad to recognize them. Sarah, I have your Instagram underneath your name on the screen instead of your Twitter, because I know you really do Instagram more, right? You're on Twitter, but Instagram is really where you communicate.
Yes. Well, yeah, I do Instagram. I actually made one just for my cycling trip. I hadn't had one before that. I do a lot of posts and stuff on my Facebook.
Okay, and on your Facebook, which is your personal or a vicious cycle?
Vicious Cycle, and it's literally facebook.com/a vicious cycle. So it's my Instagram only. That's what you type in after facebook.com, and it'll
Nice.
pull it right up. So
Yeah, you're not messing around. You got the exact name.
I
You,
cannot believe no one claimed it. I think I actually mentioned that the first time I was on the show. It blows my mind. I snatched that right up. Instagram totally available at a vicious cycle. It's like people you don't need to get on the ball with those. That is a pretty catchy. I was just surprised it was available, so
yeah, yeah.
I was pretty happy.
I got my personal Facebook profile as my name. I snatched that right up. Yeah, I got when Facebook came out without a few for 3 or 4 years ago. They came out with that. It was like I jumped right on it and grabbed everyone that I could. I'm not sure how many are free
It was
this anymore.
June 2010, I believe, because I stayed up till midnight that night to get mine. Facebook.com/Sarah Lee. It was midnight, and I literally got it
Because
at midnight.
it's not. I mean, I guess it's kind of a common name. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Lee's a common
I
name.
wasn't taking any chances.
That's right. And Sarah's a common name, so the combination
Very,
could be out
very.
there. Maybe one of our listeners or viewers could Google Sarah Lee's and see how many there are, but I bet there's a few. Hmm. So tonight, Sarah, I'm drinking Labatt
Listen,
Blue in honor of my brother who is not here from Canada. Let me bring it over here. Oh, I was out of camera view. So I got some Labatt Blue. What are you sipping on tonight? I saw you were sipping on something.
options here. Um, there's one that's called Pipsqueak, the tall boy here.
Oh, a tall boy. Wow, you don't mess around. Is that a
No,
local
no,
brew?
not at all.
Is that a local brew?
This is by Bearded Iris Brewing Company
Hmm.
from Nashville.
There we go. Well, that's where. And you're in
Thank
Nashville
you.
now, right? That's right. You live in Nashville.
Yes,
Awesome. Well, awesome. It is an
it's a
awesome
great city.
city. It is. It's
Really.
so let's talk about that because the irony of this is I go to Vegas. I've been to Vegas quite a bit. I used to go a lot more than I have recently, but and then I started hitting Nashville a couple years ago, and I would tell people Nashville is now my new favorite. I mean, I love Vegas, but Nashville to me is the Vegas of the East, and also much cheaper.
It's
Uh,
literally called Nash Vegas.
right?
There's a main strip called Broadway,
Yeah.
and just there's tons of lights
There's
and
tons of bands. I mean, I tell people,
live music 24/7.
right? You go down there at 10, 11 in the morning, you think, okay, the people are just starting to come out. No, it's packed,
Mm.
right?
Yes, yeah,
and
all night. I mean,
well,
all
until what 2? When they shut it down, it's shut down, right?
well, there's even speakers. There's a couple speakers on the streets that
Right.
play live music. I
Yeah.
mean, they're not even, it's crazy. It's all and it's not all country like by any means
Oh
anymore. It's a
no, you're right.
mix.
I mean, especially many country artists are inspired by rock bands, and they do a lot of covers. And there's just ones that are doing rock music, and that's what I love it. I mean, like I say, it's a lot cheaper in Vegas. If you're not into the gambling, and I'm not super big into gambling, I go to Vegas for the shows and everything else, and the people watching. You got all that right in
Yes.
Nashville, right? And how ironic in the fact that these two are the events yesterday are so tied to that. I mean, it was one of the largest country music festivals, Route 91 festival, and Harvest Festival. It was 3 days of solid top tier country acts. Um, and people. If you look at it, there were people from Tennessee, of course. There were people from
Yep.
Australia. There were people from all over the world, just like they come to CMA Fest, right? Just like they come to those things um, that were there, and it has definitely had a significant impact. Besides the country in Las Vegas, but definitely on the country music industry and fan base. It's got to be felt back there. I'm sure there's stuff going on locally that there's ties to what's going on in Vegas.
Yes, yeah. There's a large candlelight vigil scheduled for this evening, I believe, in Nashville. and just things I think throughout the city that are happening. It is a huge country music scene here. There a lot of artists have homes here, and I think yeah, a lot. It kind of hit home to a lot of the people here, just being that genre.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. And it wasn't. It wasn't. Like I say, there's a lot. I mean, I've been to tons of country concerts, and there's always some rock played, and this and that, and old school classic rock and that kind of thing. But it's definitely tied to there. So yeah, I mean, it's effects all over, and definitely a tie into there. But besides it also being Toby's anniversary, which we're very proud of, it is also the anniversary, the 24th anniversary of Operation Gothic Serpent today, which is famously known as the Black Hawk Down battle, or Battle of Black Hawk Down, or the Battle of Mogadishu. Um, Made famous by the book and the movie, of course. But that was 24 years ago today, when those Delta Force operators, Rangers, and 10th Mountain Soldiers, which wasn't covered so much in the movie, were all, especially the Rangers and the Delta guys, were all in a fight for their life, running the streets of downtown Mogadishu. And then, of course, we lost, a number of soldiers there, and then immediately the president at the time pulled everyone out. Right afterwards. But yeah, that was 24 years ago today. Never forgotten. What they say is probably one of the first battles directly with Al Qaeda that we've ever had. We just didn't know it at the time. That they've traced the early remnants of Al Qaeda, including Osama bin Laden, as being involved with the forces in Mogadishu. It was probably one of the first battles where we fought them directly.
Mm.
So 24 years ago today. And the 24, not 24, but I forget, Herkus, you have to tell me, I don't, let's see, '08. When did that happen? Keating happened in '08, '09. So I think, yeah, that was the anniversary of the attack on Camp Keating. And I think that was, I think it's '08. I just can't remember off the top of my head. I know I came back in '07, so somewhere around there. So, yeah, October 3rd, big day for a lot of things. And of course, now kind of the day after October 2nd, or 1st, I guess, if you depend on I guess it was the 1st in Vegas, but the 2nd on the East Coast. But yeah, it was. I don't know I mean, once you found out yesterday, did you find yourself kind of glued to the TV?
I did, yeah. It almost it like broke my heart, and then like the next day, it kind of certain things were warming my heart back up. I guess it warms my heart to read of some of the first responders, and especially when unexpected heroes are born, which is what happened also. Like a man was shot, I think, 3 times in the chest, and his friend was plugging the holes, with his fingers to prevent him from bleeding out. And like men and women were willingly becoming human shields to protect their loved ones, and it just bullets just raining down on these people. And then it's heartbreaking because no civilian should have to face scenarios like this, should have to face violence like this on American soil, like ever.
Right.
No American civilian should have to endure mental and emotional strain that comes with being attacked in this way. I mean, that's why we do what we do overseas, to preserve and protect this way of life, this level of safety back home for the people we care about, you know?
Yeah, it's we've talked on the show, Toby and I, a number of times, and I have in many of my military circles, that the term hero is thrown around so much and so liberally that it is diluted and has no meaning. And there's many of the public, the 99 percenters roughly, which is the number of the American population that hasn't participated or been directly affected by the wars since 2001. They just go with whatever the talking heads tell them and whatever the media tells them. And everyone likes to say hero, and our soldiers and so and so. We saw a guy in uniform and this and that. Well, there's a lot of folks that serve in uniform. Sarah, I know you know them, that are tools, that are not heroes, right? We have a number of them that have
They're out there.
there's a number of them that have been in criminals. Timothy McVeigh, you name it, right? Manning. There's no shortage of people that just because they put on a uniform and have an occupation doesn't put them above the law or put them on a pedestal. You can look at priest. You can look at bad cops. I mean, there's just because you picked a job or qualified does not give you some kind of carte blanche, open check to do what you want or be. But it doesn't make you a hero. But what does is exactly what you just highlighted. Everyday people, people that are scared, without a doubt, just like those in combat or those at a country music festival, that throw that fear away and do something for the greater good or for someone else. They toss that aside and do something without thinking about it. They don't cower. They don't hide for themselves. They throw themselves over the tops of other people. Now, some of those heroes were law enforcement. Some were military, former military. But like you said, a number were, I know for doubt, a number were civilians that probably never served. But they just felt it was the right thing to do, right? Like the one guy that's put himself over some young people, I think 18, 19, 20 years old, and he said, I'm 54, I've had a good life, right?
Yeah, things like that. Just the people just throw away their personal safety to help others. Or yeah, a lot of civilians rushed in there that lived in Vegas. You know, have vehicles that could get in there that had their vehicle handy, and
Yeah,
they were able to save a lot of lives. I know there was one guy. I think it's he said he saved like 30 or so people before being shot twice. He's expected to live. I mean, you never know that day. And these are like gut reactions these people had. Like that speaks even more highly of these people. Is that it's a split second. You know, if you
yeah,
try to think back and put it into words how to describe it, how it felt and everything, it is very difficult. It almost seems slow motion when you look back at something like that and you have that hindsight and the time to put maybe your thoughts together. But at the time, I mean, that was their split second gut reaction was to do those things they did, and that makes them even more heroic that that's what they would do instead of maybe just running, which sometimes running and getting to cover is the best thing you can do, you know.
right, right.
But if you have a clear vision of what you can do that will be beneficial to people and you do that, that's really really impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's different for folks like us that have been in the military, and you go through basic and AIT, and you go down, you hear about the you realize what you've signed up for, especially when it's signed up or reenlisted after 9/11, right? So that's one thing. And then if you've gone maybe done a combat tour or maybe done whatever, you realize you may have to get called upon one time to make the ultimate sacrifice. And we also know that in our training, which we do over forever and ever and ever, we try to train to muscle memory. We try to train where we don't have to think about physical or mental decisions, physical actions or mental decisions we have to make. It's just automatic. And we hope, especially speaking from an infantry standpoint, that when we ever do get tested in real combat, that we rely on that training, it's stuck with us, and that we take at least some part of it, and it turns out okay because that's all we've been practicing to do. And then, I tell you, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen guys that I thought were going to be heroes that turned into zeros. They collapsed. They curled up in fetal positions, and that you just thought they looked the best in peacetime, and they you thought they were the top HUA person, and they got these badges. But when I always tell people the bullets in the cold will make a boy into a man or a man into a boy. And then I've seen guys that that have not that they kind of think, oh, they're an okay soldier, they're this, and I'm not sure I'd really want to be with that guy in combat. That throw all that to the wind, step up, and just face the fire, right, and just bring holy hell down on the enemy, or do amazing things saving their buddies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. We're kind of trained for that, and it doesn't surprise me when I see that soldiers there at the festival stepped out and did that. That was soldiers that they were saying were using their fingers to plug bullet holes. Probably were trained in that, and probably had to do that in combat. But when you see civilians that have never been shaped to that have never had to think about making what I used to call those time standstill moments, and you just kind of hit on it, right? Seconds turn into milliseconds turn into minutes, right? Tunnel vision kicks in, adrenaline kicks in. All you see is what's right in front of you. And like you said, in hindsight, you look back and you were like, wow, that was a 7 or 15-second event, and it felt like it lasted 30 minutes,
Or a lifetime in some cases.
right, or
You
laugh
feel
time.
it all the time then,
And it's not just us, for those, because I haven't plugged it in a while, but for those that haven't read it, mine and Toby's favorite book, Second to the Last to Leave, USS Arizona, Lauren F. Bruner's book. We've talked about it. The best book you'll ever read. Sarah, if you ever get a chance you want to buy this book, is absolutely the best book you'll ever read. Lauren talks about it being on the deck of the USS Arizona, and he takes seconds of time, and it takes up 2 or 3 paragraphs because of every sense that he collects, everything he sees and hears and smells. And my heart goes out to these civilians, to these people that have not trained for this, that have not prepared for this, that should never have had to see this, that those of us that have raised our right hand and said we'd be willing to do, um, are there's a thousands of people that are now affected with PTS. Are they going to have PTSD? I don't know if it's going to be a disorder. Some of them it probably will affect them the rest of their life and give them the disorder, just like soldiers in combat, just like assault or rape victims or plane crash victims and that kind of stuff. But they all have definitely went through a traumatic event. Um, so for our listeners or viewers, if you know someone that was there, if you meet someone who's there, keep in mind that they're going to have a hard time probably being in big crowds. Some of them will bounce back and just that's the way they do. Others will have a hard time feeling vulnerable, not looking for an escape route, that kind of stuff. It's just sad that all these people that are, we would hope that those of us that have served, that went out to protect and never have this happen, are now going to have to face this.
Yeah, it does. It changes everything. It changes the smallest things sometimes too. Like you were saying, it's important for the loved ones of these people to understand that they might be a little different now. Um, I know how I am sometimes in public. I'm always watching hands, facial expressions, waiting or looking for situations to possibly escalate. And like you said, just entry, exit points. You just pay attention to all that. And sometimes I'll look around and I'll feel kind of envious of the people just kind of being carefree and enjoying their night, like at, the bar or something. But then on the other hand, I'm thinking like, well, it's a good thing maybe someone's here that is looking for those things and paying attention to those things and everything. So there's a good and bad to it, but it probably will affect them, and there is a ripple effect from something like this, and and it might not present itself right away. Like for me, it didn't for quite a while, and it'll progressively, or it'll just kind of progress
Yeah.
into different traits or characteristics they might manifest over time.
I mean,
But just be patient with them.
yeah, there's 22,000 people in attendance. There was probably thousands more supporting it, vendors, all that kind of stuff. The musicians themselves were thrown into trucks and flown out. I mean, there's a number of those folks that are still in shock at this moment, right? They are still trying to comprehend. I mean, I've seen. I mean, people go to combat and you lose a good friend, a fellow soldier, whatever, or maybe somebody you didn't know, but they're just an American that you're around, and that'll affect you for days. I mean, it very well could, much less after you get back. These people are there in Las Vegas. They're at a country music festival. They just got done singing God Bless America with Big and Rich on stage. Jason Aldean was 20 minutes into his set right after that. So maybe 45 minutes, an hour after that just happened, where they all had their cell phones up with the lights on. And now, I mean, it was so foreign to them that, the guy rattled off the first burst of ammo. And I think almost everyone that they've interviewed all said they thought, now granted, he was about 300 to 400 yards away, but everyone thought it was fireworks. Nobody knew that wasn't maybe exactly getting hit. That everyone just thought it was fireworks. They didn't think that there was anything to it, because it was such a concept they could ever imagine.
Or they hadn't heard the sound of any gunfire, let alone an automatic
Right.
weapon. What that sounds like, that repetitive kind of. It's really hard to tell with fireworks. A lot of time it is very repetitive, the way they're laid out and
Right.
the way they go off. So yeah, I mean.
Now, when those people do hear fireworks, it's going to take them right back to that moment. I mean, it's going to take them back to that, because the sense of hearing is going to just pop back. I mean, they're not going to have smelled the cordite and the gunpowder and all that stuff because he was too far away. But the sound is the one sense they have, and the sound and the visual. Yeah, it's just sad that is what that's what it's turned to. But I mean, Toby and I have had this discussion a lot. We've always considered Vegas a soft target. We've talked about it. Toby and I have been to Vegas a lot ourselves together, and we've talked about it. It's always been a concern. But honestly, I mean, I always thought it was going to be a concern from a terrorist group, from something like that. Now we don't know this guy's motive. Maybe there's something behind it, but it was, my thought was always that there were other things, and I won't talk about them here because I don't want to give anyone ideas. But I always considered it, by virtue of how the city operates and everything moves, that they were always considered a soft target. But yeah, it is. Like I say, to me, it felt like it was 9/11. I just could have stuck to the TV. I had to watch every moment, and I probably wasn't too efficient yesterday in working. I'll be honest with that.
I started off very angry, just more so at just the thought that how heartbreaking it is for that these civilians or these concert goers had to go through this, and just knowing what kind of happens down the line, in mentally and emotionally because of something like this. I'm already thinking way ahead, like that's why it's extra heartbreaking. And
Right.
I was just really angry that it was one of our own American citizens that would do this. I don't know. I don't really understand why we're not looking out for each other anymore. It seems so much.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's something, and we're gonna have on here in a few minutes, in a little bit. I have an old friend that's gonna be joining us, Angie Parambo. Angie is a former soldier herself. Her and her husband actually enlisted as a married battle buddy team. I didn't even know they did that, which is pretty
That's
cool.
awesome.
And in 2004, so she did it well after 9/11. So did her husband. They knew what they're getting into. They served in 25th ID in Hawaii. I'm assuming. Well, they had a brigade then up in Fort Lewis and in Alaska, but I'm pretty sure they were both in Hawaii. Um, and Angie lived here. I met her several years. I met her in 2001 when I did a big fundraiser Veterans Day thing with Matt Goss out in Vegas, or not 2001. I'm sorry, 2000. Excuse me, 2011. But Angie is she lives in Vegas. She loves Vegas. I reached out to her yesterday morning to make sure she was okay. As soon as I heard about everything, her and every other person I know that lives in Vegas. So we're gonna be calling her in a little bit. She is, it's 5:30 there in Las Vegas. So once she gets home from work and gets set up, in the last little bit of the show, we'll be calling her in and just kind of talk to her about what she's seen. I mean, the lines, don't around the corner donating blood. $3 million given on a city councilman's GoFundMe page. Which today I heard MGM just donated another 3 million on top of that. And it's to pay for the surgeries, all the stuff that people need, the replace stuff like. Cause not everyone has, you know, not everybody can afford Obamacare, right? And there's
That should be the last thing they have to worry about is the medical care
right,
from the attack.
right. So, just what she's seen as, and you talked about it at the start of the show, right? In some of the, and we saw it on 9/11. We saw it on so many other horrific events where when evil shows its ugly face, when some of the most horrific things happen, we see some of the best of America come out.
Yes, that's very true.
You know, besides the heroic actions of people that didn't know other people that were saving lives there, that were doing stuff, just this kind of stuff. People, what can they do to help? And man, I don't know about you, but Sarah, but it just, my goodness, two hurricanes, and and this, and man, we are just taking a beating lately. I feel like
Yeah,
this. I
we're
feel
gonna
like
get
President
pummeled.
Trump is a season of 24, for God's sake. It's
Kind of. Yeah, and yeah, it's all these big bad things are happening. And something that usually does happen after things like this is unification, is us everyone uniting in some way, which it really is unfortunate that it takes things like this, for people to feel united. But I really hope that because you say never forget, after things like this and how close everyone was. Like it's good to not forget, that unification afterward, or that feeling of being united as a nation through tragedy. Because I think that a bond through tragedy is potentially the strongest bond, really.
yeah, yeah, and sadly we know it's not going to stay right. We saw when 9/11 happened. It was about 03, 04. All of a sudden, everyone was back to
Did you take?
themselves, right? It's the first couple of years, this country was super patriotic, and then the magnets started falling off, and the flag started going away, and everyone started attacking each other again.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think a lot of it, social media is a big part of it too. That's what interesting thing about having been gone for 4 months on the cycling trip is I mean I was off the grid. I was having to have conversations in person with people, and it's so different in person. It's like they're almost more productive and meaningful.
mm-hmm,
I think no one's really taking the time to formulate their own thoughts so much anymore. It's like a lot of sharing of snarky memes or forwarding loaded articles or just maybe regurgitating like stuff that's anger inducing or even passive aggressive stuff like that. One or two liners like clickbait kind of things. No one's really talking or discussing things. Everyone's kind of letting other people do their talking for them. It seems.
right.
Um, so is this less responsibility, less pressure that way, less time needed to have to give things real thought, and forming unique perspectives for yourself, that kind of thing. So I think that maybe has kind of been a problem, and on this journey, it's been nice I haven't actually been on my Facebook news feed. I purposely avoided it like the plague just to kind of give it a try. So I feel like I have kind of this outside looking in perspective on this. As much as I love technology, I'm a total geek. I mean, I love technology. I love where it can take us, where it has taken us. And but it just felt like even if someone didn't agree with you, they had to kind of sit and listen. You know, you can't just click X or delete a comment or something like that. So it was a little
Right.
more intimate. I think eye contact, tone of voice, mannerisms, those all kind of get lost through social media. And people get pretty angry across the board about stuff now. I think we're all just very angry, anxious, depressed, and very divided. You know, nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're right. We're an immediate satisfaction, immediate need. Kind of, we need our sound bite. We need this. No one wants to take time to investigate themselves. They hear whatever and they run with it. And yeah, we've lost that personal interaction. I was thinking about this just the other day. I was looking at my son, my youngest son, of four boys, and I was thinking about, man, I remember when I was a kid, right? We would, you know, 70s and 80s, right? We would go play on the weekends and we'd go run around outside and make up our own games and, build ramps and jump our bikes over them and do all this kind of stuff. And now it's like, you want to get off the couch and maybe unplug that phone first. I mean, it's just, it's just not that technology is bad. I work in IT myself, but it's, even the interaction, just the, I remember as a kid growing up, it was, my parents were watching, they'll probably know, but they'd be, I get up in the morning, they'd be like, be home by dark. Right?
Yeah,
You'd go out and
and I would beg for more time
yeah,
outside.
yeah,
Like the street lights are on, but I mean it's
yeah,
5 o'clock somewhere.
yeah. When
I
street
would
lights
come up
come
with that
on, you
excuse.
better be back home, right? Or have come home and got permission or something. But you know,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
you were interactive. You had social skills. I mean, things like that. And now we have keyboard warriors, right? That just sit there and just hammer stuff. And yeah, if you look, I mean, and so this kind of takes us into another related topic, but whether it's keyboard warriors and bloggers and tweeters and stuff, or it's politicians, it is that with bad events like this that bring out the greatness of some people, it also brings out the terrible of some people.
yeah.
Because it is, I mean, between the politicians, pick your flavor, on both sides, that not, definitely one side more than the other. Let's be honest, right? Definitely in the liberal side, the Democrat side are jumping all over the gun thing. Um, but as fast as they could. I mean, man, their bodies were still out there. They hadn't even, policed them all up yet and got them into ambulances, and they were already on stuff. And then you have this lawyer, for CBS who said she has no sympathy because they're probably all Republicans.
That's nuts.
Thank goodness
The
CBS
kind of
fired
stuff is
her.
just
It's just
yeah,
like, you know, my God, what? If you were there, that someone would have maybe have jumped on and covered and protected you, that Republican, and to assume that
yeah.
everyone there is
More possible than hijacking aircraft. This is something that would just be significantly easier to premeditate or to plan and carry out. So you're right. It's very disturbing in that way. Where that was like a huge sucker punch, and this is like, hey, guess what? Tap tap tap. This could happen anytime, anywhere. And it is very unfortunate how much it does change people's lives and day to day. Like, do I go enjoy this thing now? Can I go to this place now? It changes your everyday thought process.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Angie, do you think it's going to change much for you? I mean, I know it's so early, but I mean, do you see yourself maybe not going to events and things like that you guys have there in town, or have you thought about that yet, or like maybe I'll be a little bit more careful next time?
It's going to take a while, and to be honest, usually you get a cab, you go out, you have a few drinks, you can be all carefree, and I think that carefree factor of Las Vegas is going to be gone.
Yeah,
Because
I
all
would,
we have is events out here, and
right.
now we're even going to we got a hockey team, we're getting the Raiders coming out here. It's going to be a huge headache for security concerns from this point forward. I really think so.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the guy had tactical advantage. He had a high spot. I mean, like say it's where does it sit? Is it going to be on the casinos to make sure they see someone doesn't? I mean, they're saying he came up to his room on Thursday with 10 suitcases. Um, you know,
Yeah.
one person, a couple suitcases is normal, right? That doesn't seem. I mean, does he do repeated trips? And of course, the casino's not looking for that. They're but you to see someone come with that many without a family, that kind of thing. Obviously, I'm sure he didn't get valet service, or he wasn't going to let anyone else carry those bags. Like, wow, this thing's awful heavy, and I hear things clanking around. But you know, is it going to be on them? Um, you know, I know you've had things in Vegas where they've had drive-bys. Or was that one a couple years ago, right there on a strip, right up from MGM, right? There was a drive-by shooting or something like that.
Yeah, and the cab exploded, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, it'd be interesting to see how they handle it. Yeah, security is going to be a little bit more, but it's I don't see how that couldn't be, right? They can't allow a copycat, or they don't want to not learn lessons from this, unfortunately.
We have to learn, and it always comes back to that one thing: you see something, you got to say something, because it's so important to stay alert, stay alive, look around. Be aware of what's going on. If something looks funny, it's probably funny.
Right, right,
It's
yeah,
true. I was touching on that earlier about that just the fact that no civilian should really have to face something like this here or should have to kind of think like that. It kind of makes me sad. Like that's why we do what we do overseas, so that that doesn't happen here, so that people can just enjoy their lives and be you know, in their children and careers and all that. And they don't have to worry about those little things or look for every little thing, watch rooftops and windows. That's our job. So it kind of
Yeah,
breaks my heart that that's happening for these people now.
absolutely. And not just that. It's these kids growing up today have a whole different aesthetic than we did growing up. We didn't have to worry about mass shootings and all this stuff. It's just going to be so different for them.
yeah. We,
Yeah.
we we talked about that earlier. How we were kids. Your mom or dad would say, "Go out and come back when the street lights come on." We were just you just now everyone's you're worrying about your kid being subjected to an online predator, or lately it seems like you got to worry about school teachers. My lord, I've never heard of so many school teachers molesting kids. I was like, and female
Especially
school
in Vegas.
teachers, female school teachers molesting male students. It seems like it's almost becoming commonplace. But anyways, yeah, it's a whole nother topic for another show, I guess. Um, the I don't know. We should still be live. I'm showing we are, but man, we are having some video things, but we're just gonna keep on going. Um, but we are having a little bit of broadcasting issues here, but that's the way our show goes. Uh, let me ask you, Angie. From what you've seen and heard so far, you probably you know these people, you know these politicians, you know these reporters. It's your you don't know them personally, but they're people you're used to hearing names and things you're seeing. Is there anything standing out that is that either in how this is covered or what's presented or what how the nation's looking at and the world's looking at this that just kind of irks you, rubs you the wrong way, or makes you proud to be a citizen of Las Vegas, or anything that really just makes you hold your head high and think, yep, because of how it's being handled?
You know what? It's Fox 5 in Las Vegas, and you met Monica at Matt's show,
Yep, yeah, no,
and
Monica,
she's
well,
always my morning gal every day in my house, and they're just handling this with such compassion and such dignity. And say again?
no, no, go ahead, that's you.
They're handling it with dignity and compassion and reaching out to the people. I mean, there's a guy this morning on TV that his wife died, and he was talking to them, and he's got to go home and tell his 8-year-old daughter. And the way they handled him, and there's this, when the interview is over, they're hugging him, and it makes me very proud to live here.
Awesome. Yeah, it's yeah, Monica's still there. That's all. I haven't seen her because she moved to mornings, I think. And I used to hear and see from a lot. I actually talked with her for a long time. So I'm glad to hear she's still there at Fox 5. But yeah, that's it's a town that's built on your guest. I mean, I know people local to there get frustrated with the tourists and this and that. And I know many locals stay away from the strip and all that. Um, but at the same time, that's what your town is really known for more than anything else. And it's good to see um, local Las Vegas folks, reaching out and trying to help. And like you say, I mean, 3 million plus raised on GoFundMe, another 3 million given today by MGM, plus a whole bunch of other folks. Is as Sarah and I were saying, it's these worst, terrible times that allow us to see some of the best of humanity and being an American, and sometimes the worst, right, where people take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of curious
Sometimes
though.
it takes the worst to bring out the best. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Kind of curious. I wonder if this is going to. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. I wonder if this is going to take this whole kneeling national anthem thing and all that stuff and kind of squash that. if you would, because of we have people from every race, creed, religion, whatever coming together because Americans were attacked. And if just people are going to look at it and be like, I mean, I don't know what happened last night at Monday Night Football, but I mean, is it going to be, is this going to keep on? You guys have any perspective or opinion on that?
No, I wouldn't know how to think about this. Just like there's still, the national anthem thing's going on, and we're still having these awful hurricanes and people living in decimated islands. I don't think it's really going to deter them, because I think they'll have respect for a little while, but I think it's going to be a thorn in our side for a while, honestly.
Yeah. I guess it was a lot less, so maybe it'll go. But it's if anything, maybe it'll make people focus on really what's important, right? Like those that have been in horrific conditions like this or have been to combat. They know the rest of the stuff is just noise. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is you're safe, you're not getting shot at, you're not getting blown up, your loved ones are safe. All the rest of it really doesn't matter. Whatever those people were thinking they were going to have to do on Monday, fly home, go back to work, deal with some issue at work or with a family member that has drama, all that stuff. You know what? None of that. And I'm not talking to the people that were lost and killed. And I'm not even talking to 500 plus that were wounded. The people that were there. I bet you none of that stuff mattered yesterday, nor today, because it's really just noise. It's not what's important in life, right? And I don't know. It's just kind of my perspective. But yeah.
Yeah. The result, like I said, the ripple effect of something like this usually ends up in people coming together, which is I think what I hope everyone just kind of wants that anyway. But it's it just takes something like this to get that unity, like I was saying, sometimes, right. Which is very unfortunate. But we can't forget about how close we were after something like this. We can't forget what happened, and then we can't forget how we felt after as a nation. Both those things are very important.
Right. The Angie, before we let you go, because you're giving us some of your Tuesday evening just after getting home from work, is there anything you want our listeners and viewers to know that we just haven't asked about yet? Anything you just want them to know about what's happening in Vegas, or anything about the people there, or maybe if there's anything particular close to your heart of how people can help and things like that?
I just want to thank everybody, because there's been a huge outpouring of support all over from. I had calls from Norway, from Germany. I was doing nothing but answering phone calls yesterday. But it's very important to give blood. And even though, they're saying there's lines, make an appointment, give blood anyway, because chances are some disaster is going to happen again. And it's really easy to give blood to save someone's life. And it's really just the best thing you could do right now. And just keep us in your thoughts and your prayers, because the families affected are really going to be having a rough time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. It was kind of I know I hit you up later today and asked you if you'd be able to come on tonight. Sorry, this was the first time we've talked in a long time. It had to be because of this, and that's that. I deeply apologize for that, even though we do chat online every once in a while. But I'm glad you're safe. Of course, I reached out to you yesterday morning and wanted to make sure that, and I'm glad that you're able to give us some time tonight and come on and give our listeners really that firsthand perspective, and not just what they're hearing shuffled through the news media.
Hey, anytime. Thank you so much for having me.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, Sarah. I hope to see you in Vegas soon.
Yes.
There we go. All right. Good night, Angie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, there we go. Everyone's seeing me do all my other stuff. Where's my call with Sarah? There it is. Oh, did I hang up on Sarah? Sarah, you there? Okay, I gotta call Sarah back. I think I hung up on both. Sorry. You there?
I'm here.
Yeah, I accidentally hung up on you. My bad.
Oh.
I thought I was just.
I'm used to it.
I thought I was just disconnecting Angie, and so now I got to fix all your video. Everybody gets to see that happen in real time here. No, no, just cropping the top and bottom. There we go. I got you back. It wasn't too bad. Um, but yeah. So what a man. What I say 5 or 6 days ago, I said we'll figure out what we're going to talk about. No idea.
It was great hearing her perspective in it, but
Yeah.
Vegas, that was awesome.
Yeah, just again, it's God, how terrible is it? It takes something like this for us to come together as a nation. It takes something like the hurricanes in Houston, like what Toby and the guys in Veteran Outdoors did, and so many others that drove down and went down there from all different states to pitch in and help out because they just felt it was the right thing to do as a human being and an American. They didn't care what people's color their skin was. They didn't care who they prayed to, if they prayed at all. Um, the people in Florida, and everything that they went down there, and people taking people in and all that kind of stuff while they evacuated, and those that went through everything down there have lost everything. Now the people in Puerto Rico, I totally failed to mention Puerto Rico earlier. I mean, it was just, people helping out down there, giving stuff, sending stuff, business owners, CEOs using their planes to fly things. This is what America's about. This is why the terrorists could have brought down towers and they could have taken out a side of a building and ran a plane into a dirt field, but we're not quitters. I mean, it's not going to happen. If anything, you just make us work that much harder. It's just sad it takes that.
Yeah, we always stand back up. We gotta take better care of each other now.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, we may be shallow as a society. We may be wrapped around the Kardashians and wrapped around who's getting whatever sex change they're getting or whatever, but when you attack us, when you hurt us, we're not going to just curl up as a nation. We're not going to curl up in a ball in a corner.
No, we switch gears pretty quickly.
Yeah.
When we need to.
Yeah, and to put it in a biking analogy, we may be cruising along good on that flat. When we start going up the hill, we turn that gear down, right? So we can keep getting up that hill.
The granny gear.
The granny gear, that's right. Pedaling those little feet.
It gets us there.
That's right. That's right. But yeah. So Toby and I usually do at the end of our show. We usually do like a bald man rants. But you're not
to rant about something.
But you're not bald, and you're not a man.
You go ahead then.
No. So this is just veteran rants. This is so you get to be Toby tonight. And we should get you like one of those bald head caps, like put it on, make you look bald. That'd have been hilarious. Anything you want to rant about?
How about you go first, and I will think.
Me go first. Okay. Okay. So I guess the thing that I will rant about, and I try to do this in like 60 seconds. I try to do it in like a minute. Is just politicians to step back, take a knee, drink some water, and shut up, and let America grieve, and let America figure out what it needs to do, and let it take care of its own. You do not need to run to the microphone. You don't need to run to the camera to try to push your agenda and use this. I mean, there were a number of politicians yesterday that used this to say, now we need to fight gun lobby and the evil NRA. Donate now. They were literally dozens of politicians were using this to campaign fundraise. Or they're just speaking out of what we would say their fourth point of contact. You know what that means? Google it. It has to do with jumping out of airplanes. Their fourth point of contact about anything they don't know about, silencers and this and that and all that other kind of stuff. Let the police, let the law enforcement figure out all the facts. Let's present everything,